thank those of you that joined us for the first Sunday in our current sermon series, Enough, which is based on the work of pastor and author Adam Hamilton. So last week we talked about the American dream and our need to kind of supersize everything that we have in life. So we talked about two things, affluenza and credititis, two very serious cultural problems that have led Americans to have such a bad relationship with money. A relationship that is, unfortunately, defined by debt. Even if we aren't in debt, we do know someone who is, and we have learned as a country to rob tomorrow, to pay for today. Now, the ushers are distributing a couple things to you. I mentioned last week that we would be offering you some tools regarding money management, specifically from a biblical perspective. You have that in a little booklet as well as a taller piece of paper that is what is called a narrative budget, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that later. So as we continue to work through this series, I cannot stress enough that while the subject of money, particularly in church, can be a sore subject, this is not about shaming anybody or making you feel guilty. This is about all of us here growing together in faith. Giving and the way that we steward our resources, these things are matters of faith. They're matters of the heart. When your heart is in the right place, it's only logical to assume that how you give to what is important to you is going to reflect the condition of your heart. So the parable of the prodigal son is one of the most familiar stories you're going to hear in church. If you think about the parable long enough, you begin to realize that Jesus is describing us, our tendency to spend and to squander resources. People often think that the word prodigal means lost, but actually it means one who wastes money. So this young man, this prodigal son, wanted to collect his inheritance before his father had passed, which, I mean, come on, that's a really scummy thing to do. You're basically telling your father, you know what, you're dead to me already. I mean, imagine being that dad. You know, the money that you had saved up over the course of your life, the property that you had acquired, that was supposed to help set your sons up for a prosperous life after you'd passed on. I mean, it was really like the ancient world's pension plan. Now, the prodigal, he could have grown crops or kept livestock, set up a business on that land to provide himself with a source of income. But see, he didn't see things that way. He simply wanted pleasure and instant gratification. He wasn't interested in a plan for life or thinking deep thoughts about his future. He wanted to indulge. He felt he had a right to. Now, if we're being truly honest with ourselves, there is a bit of the prodigal son in all of us. We want things today, right now. We think we deserve them. And either don't plan or care about tomorrow. Did you know that more than half of American workers have less than $25,000 saved for retirement? If you're like me, you might be saving for retirement, but certainly not as much as you'd like, or as early in life as you would have liked. They recommend that once you turn 18 is really when you should start, although if you can start sooner, do so. Man, I started at 30. That was the first time I had like a good paying full-time job. Now, if you want to save for retirement, but you're not doing so in an organized manner, well, hey, sometimes we got bills to pay, right? Bills to pay today, or there won't be a tomorrow to save for. Now, but eventually, for all of us, trouble does arise. So it's tax season again, right? Many of us are hoping we're going to get a fat refund. Maybe more than hope, right? Maybe you had something you needed money for, and you're hoping that that refund is going to fund that gap. Maybe you needed to get your car fixed, right? Or you needed medical attention. Maybe something came up recently. Or your roof might need some work. Maybe you had some leaks with the recent weather. Or a toilet breaks. What if that refund doesn't come? What if it's smaller than you thought it would be? The unexpected often forces us to open our wallets and put these things on credit, accruing debt that we might never have the money to pay off, not even in 100 years. This is the way that Americans go broke. Now, of course, many of us here aren't going broke, and thank God, right? I mean, maybe we're not abusing our credit cards. Maybe we don't have creditors calling us every single day. But that doesn't mean that we're not wasting our money on extravagant living. Now, my wife and I, we're not in financial hardship. Praise the Lord. We can provide for ourselves and for our son. But we've both seen how as we have made more money over the years, as our professional development has increased and so has our salary, that we waste more money too. We eat out more often than we should. There was a time, oh my Lord, when I was still in school and working as a part-time pastor, if there is such a thing, when we used to count every single dollar to meet our monthly goals, to save money for a down payment on our home. Now, if we go to Target for one item and end up leaving with way more stuff than we had originally intended, we can, and we do. But at the end of the year, when we sit down to work on our taxes, we ask ourselves, hey, where did all that money go? Every dollar we chose to waste could have been used for something far more meaningful, something with a lasting impact. There are two primary ways that Americans waste money. The first is impulse buying. So how many times have you gone to the grocery store to buy, like, say, one or two things, maybe even at a list, and you walked out with more than you planned for, right? Or you saw that 4-letter word, sale, somewhere, in a window or online, and you bought something that you hadn't intended to buy. Maybe you didn't plan to buy it, but oh my God, there it is, 50% off, right? One of the ways that I have learned to overcome this tendency in myself, and believe me, it's taken years of work. I love to shop. I know I'm not alone. Is to take up this discipline. Sometimes you feel like you just got to have something, right? It kind of pushes your rational thinking out of the way. So what I do is first, I make a list of what I truly need. Sometimes at the beginning of the month, sometimes weekly, and I stick to it when I shop, if I'm going to a physical place. Now, the internet is one of my weaknesses when it comes to that stuff. How many times have you scrolled through your Facebook feed, if you use Facebook, and you see an advertisement? Ooh, I saw something for 75% off Tile. I don't know if you know about Tile. Tile is like a tracker that you can use on Bluetooth in case you lose your keys or whatever. And I was like, oh, my wife could really use some more of those. I bought her some for a birthday. 75% off. I got to have it. Did I plan for that expenditure? No. But there it is, right? 75% off. I better take advantage of that sale, right? What I do in those moments is I wait 24 hours before I buy. That's hard, especially when the advertising says, oh, limited time only, right? No, it'll come back. The sale always comes back. Wait 24 hours before you buy. Often, I find that I either forget the desire to purchase completely, or I realize, you know what? Maybe I don't really need that item. Now, the second way is eating out. I love eating at Chick-fil-A. It's not really a passion of mine, but I do enjoy the food. Here's why. It's fast food, right? It's healthier than a burger, so they say. And my son loves it. Sometimes after a long day of trying to entertain a 1-year-old, Chick-fil-A sounds amazing. It is right around the corner from my house. It's a wonderful option. And he loves the nuggets. Oh, So I'll buy some for myself and I'll just share with him. That nugget meal costs upwards of $8, right? Fries, drink, nuggets. Oh, what if you want a milkshake or something else? Frosted lemonade. Ooh, I love those frosted lemonades. Oh, $10, $11, $12, right? But if I went to Walmart and I bought a bag of frozen nuggets and maybe some other staples, I could make us 20 meals for that amount of money. 20 meals. I'm not saying don't ever eat out, right? But I am saying that in our hurried lives, it is way too easy to spend our money on convenience and convince ourselves that it's okay, that it's right, that we deserve it. If we are not mindful about these things, our money evaporates. And then we're just kind of left scratching our heads. Oh, where did it go? When we waste money, we can't use it for other things that would have brought us greater joy and fulfillment. This is why having a plan is so essential. Instead of mindlessly hemorrhaging money here and there, having a spending plan can help us to fund a more meaningful life. The book of Genesis reminds us that we were created for God's pleasure and to be a blessing to others. As God told Abraham, when God told him that he was going to go to a distant land and that God was going to grow his family so that they would be a blessing to the nations of the world. We were created to love God and to love one another. When we spend our time and money on those things, we get the greatest sense of fulfillment. Far more than any amount of dinners out or impulse buys could provide. I've asked myself, what would I remember more? What would I be respected more for? All those Chinese takeouts, pizzas, sushi, steak dinners and such, ice cream, or the ways that the money I would have used on those things was spent on helping to make the lives of the less fortunate just a little easier, a little more blessed. Folks, as Christians, we really should be reflecting on the meaning and purpose of our lives. How you spend your money says a lot about what you value and about your life's direction. So what do your spending habits say about you? What's the purpose of your life? Do you merely exist to consume? Or do you perhaps have a higher purpose? Many of us don't think about these big existential questions, but answering them can help you to develop your own sense of mission, a direction to go, maybe a cause to champion, a way to give back. We should be evaluating our finances to see how they align or don't with that purpose. See, money isn't a goal. At least I don't like to think so. It's a means to a goal. You've undoubtedly heard people misquote the Bible and say that money is the root of all evil. Scripture does not say that. It does not. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 says that the love of money is the root of all evil. The issue is not money itself. Even Jesus collected money for his ministry. But the way that we value our money and what we choose to do with it. That's where evil begins. Now, I've prepared a tool for your use. I am not a financial counselor by any means. I'm actually relatively new to the finance game. But the booklet that was distributed was prepared using tools and concepts from respected authors about Christian financial management. Now, you might already have a financial plan. Maybe you even have a financial counselor. Great. Good for you. You probably won't find this tool helpful. But if you don't, if you don't have access to such things, and you want to give personal financial management a shot, you will quickly find, as I did, that there is power in planning for your best future. And this resource can help with that, particularly in helping you live within your means. And if you'd like help with it, I am making myself personally available to any of you. If you use it and you think it would be helpful for friends or family in the course of using it, I've got plenty of copies and would be happy to distribute more. I'd like to close this part of the sermon by highlighting 6 principles from the booklet that, when put into practice, can help you get on the right track financially. Now, some of this is just personal finance 101. Maybe your parents or other guardians taught you how to do this stuff. If so, I'm just repeating it, but many of us might not have been exposed to it. So here are some of them. Pay your tithe and your offering first. Tithe or offering. That doesn't necessarily mean to this church, by the way. Offer God the first fruits of your income in a way, whatever that way is, that God is calling you to do. Live off the rest. That is how you fund your mission. Number 2, create a budget, so spending plan, and track your expenses. It takes work, but it's good work. It's empowering work. The booklet actually can help you with that, and there are a variety of strategies that I would love to talk with you about if you need that help. Number 3, simplify your lifestyle. Learn to live more simply, which is just another way of saying live below your means. More literally, make your expenses less than your income. Number 4, establish an emergency fund. This one is huge. This is how you stop from going broke. You typically hear advice about saving around 3 months of your current yearly income. When you have that fund in place, you don't have to dip into credit if something should happen. You have to replace your tires, or there's a roof leak, or something like that, medical attention. You've got the money saved up. It's ready to go. You don't have to pull out that credit card. 3 months or more if you want. Whatever you feel you can do. Number 5, pay off your credit cards. Pay them off. If you're trying to erase your debt, start with your higher interest debt first. Then you take the money that you were using to pay that debt off and apply it to the rest of your debt. Be disciplined in that way. Use only cash or debit cards for your purchases, and use credit wisely. And number 6, practice long-term savings and investment habits. Maybe you want to save for retirement. Maybe you want to save for a down payment on a house. Who knows what? Save for the future that you desire. And that's why looking through those existential questions, really thinking about your life's purpose, your personal happiness, your relationship with God is so important. When you do that stuff, it sets a direction. All right.